Coming up on CHGO Cubs, presented by Toyota and Bet365. The rotation set for games to return later this week. Plus, can the Cubs survive March and April? A brutal schedule. Danger. Vibes ahead. Our bold predictions are next on CHGO Cubs. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast driven by Toyota, Let's Go Places, and Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 at sign up. By the way, I did that, and I'm very happy to have done it.
Same. So we've heard.
Yeah. Same. So, very good. Who's excited? Here we go. Another Monday. It is March 24th. Games will resume this week in the regular season. Cubs off to an 0-2 start. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo, Patrick Norton with you. Sean's running the 1s and 2s. And you've all been waiting. You've waited 6 months. Well, some have waited a whole year, I guess.
I've been waiting
People wait their
since
whole
June
lives
of
for
last
this.
year.
The Bold Predictions Podcast. We will unveil our bold predictions for the 2025 Cubs.
And let's just put this out there. We did on the very first day of the year, we did a New Year's resolution. And,
yes.
And it's somewhat similar.
Correct.
But we now know what the roster is, and we now know
it's been refined.
Projections. Yeah. So I mean, I don't remember what I said on that podcast.
I couldn't make a Gage Workman prediction before. Now I can.
Yeah. There's more context.
So
when we do a daily show throughout the year,
we update it.
We got to find a way to create content for you people. So
those were bold predictions back around New Year's Day. These are the big, bold predictions.
There's a difference.
There's definitely a difference.
Big time.
Okay.
Please note that.
Yeah.
First, the news came out, though, that we were asking Cody at the end of last week, what's the rotation going to be? Are you going to have Steele and Shota pitch twice before anybody else gets a start? So it will be Steele, Tyone, and then Shota against the Diamondbacks, setting up Shota to then pitch the home opener coming April 4th at a Friday 120 against the Padres. Do you like the way that sets up? Tyone in game 2 against the Diamondbacks? By the way, no Corbin Burns either.
That's the big part. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I don't know about you. Well, actually, I do know because we talked about it all offseason, but we know that we feel like the Cubs are a starter short, but we still feel like they have a solid rotation. We still feel like they have a rotation that can keep them in games. And, I don't feel like we'll be sitting here in September saying the rotation completely imploded and is why we missed the playoffs.
Okay.
And if that is the case, a lot of things went wrong and a lot of guys regressed, right? So if Tyone's pitching Friday and Steele's going to pitch Thursday, is that what it is? Steele's Thursday,
yes.
Tyone's Friday. Mm-hmm. Shota is what, Sunday?
No, it goes Steele, Tyone, Shota.
Oh, okay. My bad. Shota is Saturday.
Shota's the third game.
Listen, those three guys were top 3 in your rotation last year. Tyone had a bounce back year comparatively to his first year. The only thing that gives me concern about that series with the rotation is that Chase Field is a lot like Coors Field. Chaos happens there. So do I expect them to be aces or to be elite? Do I expect their best starts? No, I'm just hoping that they keep them in the game and the Cubs score some runs.
Well,
I think that's honestly how I feel going into the season.
How often,
or into that series at least.
How often every September do we think back and say, well, those games in April, they really do end up meaning something after all when you miss the playoffs by 1 or 2 games or whatever you're doing.
Mm.
And we'll learn a lot about the Cubs in April. And that, to me, is a good thing.
Mm.
It's about time that we start taking these games seriously.
Well, seriously, this schedule is a gauntlet.
Yeah.
March and April for as much as I actually don't enjoy baseball that much in March, April, other than opening day, after that, if you get a game at Wrigley Field, you're like, oh, this is miserable. I can't really get into it till it feels like summer. But March and April, to have to play the Dodgers 3 times in the first month plus of the season, include the Padres twice, the Phillies throw them in, and the Diamondbacks twice. You're talking about a lot of playoff teams. I know some people think the Cubs are a playoff team, but the Diamondbacks were in a World Series 2 years ago.
You can't make the playoffs in April. You can certainly put yourselves behind the eight ball, though.
That's it. It's a real tough schedule. I'll be curious if they can survive it. I really think it's important for them to at least be around the 500 mark.
Yep.
Don't let somebody in the division that you don't expect to be that good get the feeling of being ahead, whether it's the Brewers, the Reds, or yada, yada, whoever it might be. Lord help us, the Cardinals.
It's somewhat of an incomplete thought just because you said something now that just kind of triggered this thought. I feel like there was an injury last year, something that happened last year where we were thinking, hey, as long as they get through this stretch, 500.
Steal.
Yeah.
Steal opening day.
Yeah. Then they'll be fine.
The schedule in April has been a question to me countless times all offseason because we've known the schedule since the end of last year. And my answer to a lot of people has been, how is it that much different from the schedule in April of last season? I'm looking at the schedule from April of 2024. All right, okay. They opened against the Rockies at home. And this is not counting going to Texas to start the season, right? That's
World Series
that's technically March.
Champion.
So yeah, but you did have the Rangers to start the season. You played the Rockies. You played the Dodgers at home, in which you won that series, actually. You played the Padres in San Diego. You went to Seattle and won 2 of 3. You went to Arizona and won 2 of 3. You played the Marlins at home, and you split that one. You won a series against the Astros. You lost a series against the Red Sox. And then, I believe, going into May, you lost a series against the Mets. So
it'd be great if you just went through the entire schedule.
I'm just saying that,
No,
like,
but
it's
you're
not.
right,
They
It's
won
how,
83.
how much different is it from last year, though? Like, you can't tell me that it's like some shocking thing. This has been like since they implemented this new schedule where you're playing less division teams.
Yeah.
They've been playing a lot of the West Coast teams to start the year.
It just feels like the Dodgers are slightly unbeatable, and you have to play them 3 times in the first month.
But the good news is that you get it out of the way and you don't have to play them the rest of the year.
Sure. You can hope that Mookie Betts is still sick.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess because in my mind, every game should count equally. But where I agree with you with getting the Dodgers out of the way is that you're not going to run into them if you get hot at some point in August. You're not going to run into a 4-game series against the Dodgers and then suddenly be on a downward trend in September.
I should also add that you mentioned, and then we won 83 games. Well, the Cubs had their best month of the season in April of last year against those teams, against the Mariners, against the Diamondbacks, against the Padres, against the Dodgers. The Astros, they started slow. You got them at the right time, right? The Red Sox were about as mid as the Cubs were. The Mets ended up being better than what we all thought. I'm not saying that we should expect them to have a, whatever it was, 18-6 month or whatever in April. I'm just saying that there's no reason that we should sit here and freak out about the schedule in April when you've been playing this basically the same type of tough schedule in April each of the last 2 seasons.
I'd take 500.
I mean, yeah, I would take
Right?
500.
Wouldn't you take 500?
I would take 500,
Yeah.
But then you have to beat your division teams, which is what they actually struggled with the most last year.
In reality, in a playoff series, you're asking your team to at least go 1 game over 500, right? In a 7-game series, you're just asking for 4 wins in a 7-game series. So, maybe a couple games over 500 in April wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. That'd show you that, hey, this team might be actually capable of winning a 7-game series or a 5-game series.
Right. So,
well, hold on. Let me ask you guys this question.
Yes, Sean.
Kyle Tucker, with his slow spring, are you thinking that someone needs to step up for the Cubs, whether it be Horner, Swanson, to try to combat maybe Tucker's possible slow start? Because I know we're going to talk in the future. Tucker's expected to be the Cubs MVP, but right now he might not be, full throttle, ready to go. Is that something that you're concerned about in April, along with the schedule?
I'm personally not. I don't. In my mind, the season has not started.
No.
It's so screwy with the Dodger games, and they counted, and you're 0-2. Nothing has started yet. Spring training means nothing. Remember, you can't go from saying we have the best record in the Cactus League, which we talked about and joked about, right? To then they lost 2 games that counted, and now they have no chance of winning anything. You can ride that roller coaster if you want to, but you're going to need to invest in Pepto-Bismol if that's the way you're going to ride it, because I'm just gonna count them all as Cactus League games. I know they count on the schedule, but they were against the Dodgers, and that's a different, and it was 14-hour time difference, all of that stuff. Forget the first 2 games. For me, the season starts when they play the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Also,
And that's when I'll start. That's when I'll start to worry about whether or not Seiya's in a slump. He's not in a slump right now for me because the season hasn't started.
Of course,
in my head.
Of course, he hit 2 homers in the first game back.
Yeah, of course he
Japan.
did, which is a good sign. I'm going to stick to that, though.
There you go.
That part, I'll keep that part. Tucker not hitting means nothing. Seiya 2 home runs means everything.
We also saw a home run that did not clear the wall that was called a home run.
Yeah.
Automatically not real games. Just that's video game stuff right there.
To answer Sean's question, I would say that they're going to need guys to step up all season long. It's not just Kyle Tucker. Like, Kyle Tucker is supposed to be the piece that is better than Cody Bellinger, which I think he will be. Right? Like they're going to need Dansby and Nico and Shaw and PCA and Happ and Seiya to be productive players. Like and that's not like earth-shattering news, but I'm just saying that they're not going to get all of the same. They're not going to get all the guys going all at the same time throughout a season. Like, that was even that way in 16 in many ways, but they're going to need, if Kyle Tucker has a slow April, they're definitely going to need Happ and Seiya and some of these guys who've been here to kind of, be who they've always been, which are really good players. And they're going to need Presley and Hodge to hold it down in the 8th and 9th inning, because no matter how much we complain about the offense last year, they did blow 26 saves or whatever it was that Godfather reminds us all the time. So they're going to, like, whether they're playing a lot of close games in April or not, like, they're going to need more than just a handful of guys to be to step up. For how this team is built, absolutely they're going to need guys to step up on top of some young dudes to kind of at least make an impact. If Shaw's going to struggle early with the bat, he's got to be good defensively like he was in Japan. If PCA is going to start slow, he's still got to give you the defense, and if he does get on base, give you that base running. All the guys got to find a way to make an impact in the game if some of them aren't going to hit right away. That's to me, that's how I view it.
I want to add just a small caveat to what you said, though, too. Not is it only these guys playing how they have played, but playing how we think that they should have been playing too. I think is an important piece of that.
Yeah.
Time to live up to your expectation for a couple of these guys.
And to your point, or to your comment there, like, the expectation is kind of all over the place surrounding with fans. Like, a lot of fans I've read in comments, maybe 85, 86 wins. Then you look at projection systems like Pacoda, and they have the Cubs winning 92. You look at people talkers like the talking heads. People say that the Cubs should be a favorite to win the division, but they're not good enough to just run away with it. I think that's what the consistency. So it's like, I think the expectation for the Cubs from most people is that they should win the division, and that's my expectation. I think that's both of your expectation. That's what it is. If they do not, and they don't flirt with the wild card, which will be hard considering how the rest of the National League is set up, then it's a failure. And I am going to have a lot of Taco Bell. Okay, so
I wasn't sure where that was going.
I'm just saying the sample size of the first 2 games in Japan, 14 hours away, is a speck in the universe.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's a bigger sample size is missing the playoffs for 4 years in 83 and 83. That's your bigger sample size. Now they've adjusted the recipe a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what it is. I see, like you said, James Colstock is saying same team, 84 wins, 4 obliques.
4 obliques.
And,
yeah.
No, but James is actually upset. He said, I was told by you guys that he was baseball Jesus and that they didn't fix the lineup, bruh. A guy with a Bitmoji is using the word bruh. So you know we've really pissed him off.
I usually go with brah.
I didn't tell you that, James. Like, or at least I wasn't the only one, but like when Kyle Tucker is being put on top 20 lists in baseball for like just overall players, that should, you can yell at those people too. Don't just yell at us.
Bruh.
So Kyle Tucker, does he have a lot of expectations from Cubs fans and us? Yes. But every player slumps. How many times did I mention that Aaron Judge had like a 704 OPS in April of last year when we were talking about stars and superstars, because Luke's sitting here talking about it every single show.
And everybody follows me.
And I have to defend Ian Happ every single day. So like and I know those two don't go together. I'm just saying that there are stars and superstar players who do slump throughout the year. That even the best players in the league do that. So all I was saying is that if Kyle Tucker gets off to a slow start, then yeah, they're going to need guys to step up. But I expect Kyle Tucker to be what we've seen with him in the Astros.
And that's the one thing. 25 months where he's had 50 plate appearances or more in that month. Only 5 of those 25 has had a sub 700 OPS. He has a very consistent floor, and like his, there is a really just consistent player, like day in, day out with Kyle Tucker. So he had his probably worst 2 games in Japan already, so it's probably only up from here.
Sean is calling for a 15 WAR player this year.
All right.
Nope, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Babe Ruth,
We have
he's
our
back.
bold. Now, that would be a bold prediction. Our real bold predictions are on the way, but first, a word from our wonderful sponsors.
Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My friends, new customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. All right, you sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Did that last week.
Me too.
And I used some of it on a few Cubs futures. Seiya Suzuki over 19.5 homers and PCA over 29.5 stolen bases.
Very nice.
All right.
Did you notice how crooked I'm sitting? It's because my wallet's fuller than it was last week.
I thought you were just being weird, but now,
I got one
now
leg
it all
underneath.
makes sense.
No, it's actually
He's been
I
waiting 17
have to even
minutes for
things
that.
out because the wallet's lifting me up so high in one cheek.
Nice. Anyway, if you're into betting baseball like I am, they have a great early payout offer to start the season. So with Bet365, with that offer, you're a winner if your team goes 5 runs ahead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners, which means, God, don't put Godfather through this. But if the Cubs jump out 5-0 against the Diamondbacks in the 3rd inning on domestic opening day, and then Presley and Hodge blow it at the end, you still win your bet. So it's a great little promo there. So new customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. So sign up and use code CHGO365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 on $150. Place a bet for $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. All right, must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be assessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER.
I think in between each read, we should change which foot is up, just for sort of like there we go. Better. Thank you. Light beer just got better. Introducing Sam Adams American Light. It's clean, it's crisp, it's super easy to drink. No gimmicks, no fluff. Hey, we got turning time going on. Baseball's back. Perfect time to try this out. Sam Adams American Light is not your average light beer. It's brewed with 100% American-sourced ingredients from local independent farmers. Light beer that's made right, not so heavy. You shouldn't have to feel like you're all bloated after 3 sips of a beer, and it shouldn't feel like a compromise either. An American classic, so smooth, you'll want to crack open another. It's always Sam season. Light beer just got better. Grab some Sam Adams American Light, available now at select Chicago retailers. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
Before we move on to bold predictions, I just want about the schedule, because we were talking about. To close on it, I will say that, they're not going to play the Rockies, not going to play the Marlins, right? So when you look at this brutal schedule, where's a team or two that maybe you get like the Astros last year, When you played the Astros last year, they were playing terrible baseball.
Yeah.
You won the series. PCA got his first career hit and homer at the same time in that series.
Be nice if it was the Diamondbacks.
Right.
And you hope it's not the Cubs.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's to spin it a little bit if you want to feel better about the schedule. Like, who are one or two teams in that schedule in April that could maybe be like when you got the Astros in April last year? Because even those teams are going into another way to spin it. Those teams are going into the season saying, "Oh, they're playing the Cubs in April." It's not like you're going to play the Dodgers, but they know that the Cubs aren't some easy rollover team.
Or not even that. I mean, you got the Phillies on the 25th, 26th, and 27th. That's a team with playoff expectations. Maybe they're a little bit too fat and sassy. Maybe they're a little bit too full of themselves. Maybe they just have a bad April because they have higher expectations, and they're thinking, oh, we can save more for June, July, August, September.
Yeah. You have the A's right after in Sacramento. Like, how will it play at a AAA ballpark? Like, I know nothing about where, like, that ballpark, right? Like,
Padres realistically have a lot of question marks that kind of fallen through.
And you get the Pirates at the very end of the month. Hopefully you avoid Skeens, which just feels like that's not ever going to happen because they've faced them too many times already.
If you avoid Skeens, then you get Jared Jones or you get Mitch Keller.
Yeah,
True.
It's similar to an NFL season. Just like when you go into the NFL season and people try to predict what the record's going to be, and you say, well, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win. When in reality, it's very based on which team is more healthy at that time and has had a little more rest. For instance, who's played on a Thursday and had 10 days. Baseball, the better team usually wins. However, it's such a funny sport because it depends on what week you get or what pitcher or what.
Yeah.
A great team. We've seen the Cubs beat teams they have no business beating, and then go ahead and lose. Lose to the Pirates, right?
Remember when they swept the Orioles in like August last year?
It does happen.
Sean,
we will give our season totals on Wednesday's season preview podcast, though. That's not part of the bold predictions. The season total for wins is on our Wednesday season preview. This is just the bold predictions podcast.
Just really quick, Sean, who was the team that the Sox swept at home last year with a chance to break the record at home?
The Angels.
The Angels. Yeah. The Angels weren't very good, but the Angels.
The Sox swept a series?
With a chance to.
It is.
Yeah. With a chance to.
Pretty sure they beat the Cardinals on the road. So, I mean,
they did
we just want to talk about subpar teams and talk about the Cardinals.
And because they did that,
service.
The Cubs finished with exactly the same record as the Cardinals. Don't even let that possibly happen. If that's one of your bold predictions, I have seen that the live YouTube chat has already started up with the bold predictions. It's the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience is go ahead and subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube page. Could be news coming on that soon. Craig Brindle says, go Cubs. Good to see all the sickos and regulars out there.
Hello,
this
Craig.
show is a sicko special because we want the sickos to be involved.
Can I just bring this up? This is our Toyota chat of the day. This show is presented by Toyota, our good friends. James Colstock did just say 2 words, Cam Smith. Because he's, he's not really believing in
Colstock
Craig Counsell, not really believing in Kyle Tucker, but he believes in the guy that has played, let's check, 0 MLB games.
Also, swear jar.
Swear jar.
My Venmo is in my Twitter bio. Thank you.
We're going to get Cody to Japan the next time, no matter what.
I'm legitimately going to bring it. I'm legitimately going to bring a jar.
One way or another, slowly but surely, we are going to get Cody to Japan. The Cubs might not be there, but he's going to get there.
By Thursday, we'll have a swear jar on set.
All right. Bold predictions is always fun because you have to weigh what's really a bold prediction. If you're just saying, for instance, we're going to start with MVP, Cubs MVP, right? Well, isn't everybody going to say Kyle Tucker? Now, if you were going to give me a bold prediction about Cubs MVP, if you were to come out and say Miguel Amaya, that would be a bold prediction. You can't just come out with a bold prediction and give what everybody is saying.
Is that a big bold prediction?
That Amaya would be a big,
thank you.
Yeah.
Big bold prediction.
Yeah.
It's a tongue twister right there.
Yeah.
As
MVP. So,
that's fine.
and we asked this in Discord too, so we're going to get some of the Discord suggestions as well. All right, let's start to slowly work through this. Cubs MVP. Can we all just sit here and say that it's Kyle Tucker?
Sure.
and then we'll have to give an alternate. Is that fair?
Yes.
Sure.
Right? Because I mean, like, how could it not be? They just
You're not
traded.
being genuine.
They
if you
just
say
traded
someone
the
else.
guy CS that's with the Astros now. Not allowed to say his name. They traded him because I don't want to lose $1. They traded
Got a
him, and
20
it's
in
the
my
biggest.
pocket.
It's the biggest move of the offseason. We know that,
Yeah.
and it's the superstar we've all been begging for. At least I have.
Yeah.
Please put a superstar back on this team. We haven't had one since Chris Bryant.
Yep.
So here he is, and it might only be one season. So let's take Tucker out of the conversation. So my Cubs MVP is Kyle Tucker / here's the bold part, Dansby Swanson. Why? Because there's so much hate and disrespect for Dansby Swanson. I understand you might feel some of it is deserved, and you might feel like they should have gone after another shortstop, and you might feel like they paid too much money for him. I would argue they didn't pay too much money for him, and that of that group, he still could turn out to be one of the better choices to go after. If Dansby Swanson is healthy all year, to me, it's strictly offense. Like, he's already going to get the job done for you at shortstop. There aren't too many. If there are guys that are better than him at shortstop, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny list. So it's all about the offense. How much better does he have to be the MVP of this team? Well, if it's not Tucker and we've taken him out of the mix, why do we always forget Dansby Swanson? I know all the other names that you could put in there besides him, because mostly for me, you're talking about a position player thing. Dansby kind of gets forgotten. If he can be, just look at these last 2 games when he looks better and you creep him up, and he's more of a certainty already than anybody else that's on that list. If you're going to take PCA or Seiya who gets injured, or he's as much a certainty as anybody. I think Dansby Swanson could have one of his best years. What's that look like? Well, we'll see what his WRC plus is, but I think there's a chance that he could be, outside of Kyle Tucker, the best player on the team. That might not be a good thing for the Cubs.
No, because how
that would mean maybe some other guys that you're hoping are going to be really good. But for a bold prediction, I think he gets forgotten. So I'll take Dansby Swanson.
And how often have we said that he needs to be the 5th best guy in the lineup?
He needs to live up to the contract.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll take Dansby. I'll roll with him.
I like it. That's big and bold.
That's bold.
Bold. Capital B, bold.
Okay.
Rhymes with.
Well, if he swings the bat like he did in Japan, I feel like, maybe it works out in a positive way. I thought he swung the bat well in Japan. So
I just want him to be healthy, and I want to see what he's like healthy, and I want him to have a good season, and maybe the wind will blow out at Wrigley, and it'll change his numbers completely.
First time that he's had a significant off time between regular season starts in a while.
Sure.
So, yeah, we'll take it.
For me, if you tell me to not choose Kyle Tucker, I'll go with old reliable Ian Happ. And it's largely just because now I feel like he's on a team that I think post World Series core traded, this is probably the best team he's on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people can make the argument that this team isn't that different. Well, I would say that it is, because I think Kyle Tucker is better than Cody Bellinger and the best player that they've had since Chris Bryant. Okay. So, I think that could benefit a guy like Ian Happ. I think Ian Happ he had 25 homers last year. He was one of the best players on the team. He's a consistent 3.5 to 4 win player every season. He gives you Gold Glove defense.
He's going to bat leadoff.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot of at-bats, deservingly so. He's near the top on the team in on-base percentage every year. So I think that with Tucker either behind him or Seiya behind him, with Tucker right after, like the top 3 in the Cubs lineup, I feel really good about if it's Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, and Seiya Suzuki, or Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Kyle Tucker, whatever. So I think that will benefit his numbers, and perhaps we get Ian Happ's first 30 home run season of his career.
So far, we're fairly bold. I'm watching the chat. We've got a Dansby Swanson team MVP, and I agree with Evil Wax. He's the best defensive shortstop. If he hits 25 home runs, which isn't like totally crazy if he's healthy, that could be a guy that's your MVP. We're going to get Patrick Norton's call in just a second. But first, another word from our sponsor. You want to hear what Patty's going to have to say.
Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. Listen, April 4th, the first Friday 120. Friday 120 Club will be there in 504. Next, shout out to My Tai Guy, going to give us like 2 or 3 rows. At least he always just says
he's going to reserve that for us, My Tai Guy?
He literally does. We don't even ask him to. He just does it because he loves us, so shout out to him. But we'll be right there in 504, and it will probably be rainy and cold like it always is every Cubs home opener. But we will be there, and it will all be thanks to Game Time, because we will get our tickets when we get off the red line or whenever you park your SUV on Southport or wherever the hell you're going to walk far from. And you'll open up Game Time when you get out of your car or whenever I get off the train, and I will get the best ticket before first pitch, at least value-wise. And that's why Game Time is the best, all right? They have all-in pricing. Toggling that feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. No one likes a bait and switch, especially Luke Stuckmeyer, right?
Can't stand it.
Can't stand it. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. There's polls at Wrigley. That's a big problem. Sometimes that issue can be resolved thanks to Game Time, okay? And then they have they will credit you 110% of the difference with the lowest price guarantee. Their tickets are also guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Get more power to you during Dodge Performance Days at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. Now is your chance to score a great deal on your next vehicle. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. And right now, you can lease the new 2024 Dodge Charger Daytona for only $259 a month or get 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles they have currently priced under $20,000. With a friendly team of brand experts, the team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. And with Ray's Price Promise, you can shop confidently with no add-ons, no hidden fees ever. The price you see is the price you pay. It's that simple. Go check out our partner today. To shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories, find the right new vehicle for you, then drive home happy. The team at Ray CDJR is the only one we recommend. Don't miss out on Dodge Performance Days going on all month long for low lease and financing rates on the new 2024 Dodge Charger. For more information, visit Ray CDJR today on Route 12 in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Patrick Norton, we left off. We were talking about Cubs MVP, bold predictions. We all said Kyle Tucker / So the first half is not bold. The second half is our bold prediction for Cubs MVP. I've seen some other names out there. I've seen some pretty good ones. What's your pick? How bold are you going to go, Mr. Norton?
What does MVP stand for?
Most valuable player.
Yes. So who, if you remove from this team, does this team become immeasurably worse? And to me, the invaluable player on this team right now is Pete Crow-Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
Just if you take him out of center field, if you take him off the base paths, if you take him out of the lineup, this team I don't think can survive. You hope for production from Kevin Alcantara. You hope. I mean, here's the thing: we're technically hoping for production out of PCA.
That was going to say.
But I think that if he is on the trajectory that we saw at the end of September last year and also before the beginning of September, because there was a little slump in there, but he bounced back. He was able to get himself out of it. I think that we have a chance to see a really special season for a player that we've had high hopes for in Chicago for some time now, but then also he's a guy that can develop into a lineup changer. Whether that's we know what he can provide in center field. We know what he can do on the base paths. Yeah. We saw him start to drive the ball in the second half of the year. We saw him, hitting for a little bit of power, but he turns he turns any time that he makes contact into a chance for extra bases.
Sure.
Where else do you find that in this lineup? Nowhere.
You know what? First of all, give us a like, please, would you? We'd appreciate a like on the video. What you're saying about him being like, if you take him out as far as value goes to the team, that's what scares me about this team still today.
Sure.
Even though I feel like it's a better roster than it was last year. I have way higher expectations than I did after last year's season. I feel like you could say what you just did about PCA in a lot of spots around.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I necessarily say that, even though you get the great consistency out of Hap. But if you say it at third base, you got trouble at third base. If you say it at first base and Bush isn't the answer this year, you got a problem. If you say about Tucker, obviously, you've got a problem. If you say about Dansby at short, okay, Nico moves over. You got to move some things around. There's at least 3 or 4 positions where I can say a similar thing to what you're saying about PCA, even though I don't disagree with what you're saying,
Sure.
because he has such a high ceiling for what we've seen that he could certainly vault his way into that next conversation. And I think people around baseball see that too.
I guess to push back a little on what you're saying, like on certain positions, are you saying that they all they just absolutely flop? Like they're like one of them is like Christopher Morel last year?
No. I'm saying, like, he's saying take PCA out and the production you're losing and the quality you're getting out of center field, you got to now count on Alcantara. And I would say, okay, but if you lose Michael Bush at first base, who's going to play all your first base over there for 3 months? Or if you lose
Turner,
or if Shaw can't do it at third,
yeah.
Okay, so Workman or Brujan, or who's it going to be at third base? So I'm just saying there's other positions where I see the same thing. Losing Dansby for a long stretch at shortstop could be very difficult too, even though Nico could do it, but there's questions about Nico's health going into the season. So what scares me is I think there's multiple positions you could say that about. They're not so stacked that you can afford to lose Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and still truck the other team.
No.
Right? Like, that's what I'm saying.
Fair.
We just played a team that lost 2 of the top 5 players arguably in baseball, and they still looked like world beaters.
I wouldn't say Freddie Freeman is that, but fair
top
enough.
10?
He's
older. I watched the World Series. He's easy top 10.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you take those 2 guys off, and they didn't miss a beat without him. If you take that, if the Cubs had 2 quality players like that and you took them off the Cubs,
Mookie Betts for sure.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So well, I like what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And the only thing that I'm like, the way that you're explaining, it's like, I don't think there's a lot of difference in terms of quote unquote expectations or whatever when you insert Kevin Alcantara in there. I think Kevin Alcantara might have a higher ceiling as a hitter, but I do think the defense is similar. I don't think he has that speed though. But
yeah, I think you're definitely losing something in center.
Yeah, I think the defense would be there, but I don't know about the base running. I think the offense would be better, but it is a big question in terms of what they're going to do at the bat. All we have with PCA is the end of July and August and most of September.
The speed's a game changer for me. It just really is. I mean,
I get it.
Think about center field right after the World Series when you had Albert Almora out there. Almora made some really nice defensive plays, but most of them were because it looked like he couldn't get to the ball.
Mm-hmm.
PCA makes
Every
a difficult play look routine.
Yeah. No, he's a major difference maker as a defensive player, and that's why he is very valuable. So I don't necessarily disagree. I think it's just like if you lost PCA, would the Cubs be screwed? I think you can make an argument that they wouldn't be. I think if you lose a guy like Dansby, yeah, you can move Horner over to short, and then what? What are you going to do at second? You're going to call up Triantos? You're going to play Workman there? Like, yeah, that's a big question, right? And I think you make the same argument with Shaw. Hap, probably not the biggest thing. It would allow you to call up Alcantara as well, or if Casey is healthy and ready, then you can put Casey out there, put Seiya in left and put Casey at DH, whatever, or Ballesteros at DH if that's the way you want to go. So the thing is like with all these young guys, whether it's Alcantara, Casey, Ballesteros, Shaw, they're highly touted prospects, top 100 prospects. Mm-hmm. They've been dangling them to us for the last 3 years, right? And now we have reached the season where the Cubs have openly said that we are going to see them all. And so I don't know where to set my expectations for a lot of them. I'm trying to have timid expectations for Shaw, even though he's going to play every day. But it is a big storyline that will follow all year, and I hope that at least some of them show a lot of promise, especially Shaw, because he's your third baseman, and like we've been waiting. So
most valuable Cubs pitcher. I'm going to make it simple. Justin Steele. I still have confidence. I hope he's not as sick as Mookie Betts is, who's down to 157 pounds from 175 or 180. But obviously I was worried about the flu, and then the next start didn't go well in the Cactus League, and then it didn't go great in Japan. But I still have faith that he's going to be steady Steele, and he's still, for me, he is still the ace of the staff. He's 1A, Shota's 1B. And if you're looking for a true ace, maybe he's a high-end number 2 in reality, but I'm still putting him as the ace of the staff. I think he's the most important piece of the pitching staff because I think it trickles down from there. So Steele is Steele. If I'm looking for an MVP, most valuable pitcher, for me, it's still Justin Steele. Without that depth of Steele at the top, things can unravel quickly. I still have concerns about the pitching staff. I do. Yeah. But at least I know I have that in my mind. I still have that stability at the top.
I don't know if this is most valuable, but like it's his injury status is very important. They need Matt Boyd to give them anywhere from 100 to 120 innings. They absolutely need it because he's basically replacing Kyle Hendricks. And I thought he pitched well in Japan in the exhibition game. And Craig Counsell himself said that was his best outing of the entire spring. So he's going into the season, coming off that performance. I think he might pitch one more time. But either way, when he is out there, he's good. He was good with the Guardians when he came back last year, had an impressive playoff postseason run, right? To me, the biggest thing for him is to be on the field. And if he does perform better than Kyle Hendricks, last year at least, which shouldn't be hard, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but it shouldn't be hard. But if he is healthy and he is better than what Kyle Hendricks gave you last year, that could be a guy that we're sitting here and we're like, this guy is putting the Cubs in position to win more games than you were last year. Because even though you blew a bunch of games via the save situations, or you went through that 2-month stretch in May and June where your offense absolutely stunk and made me want to go jump in the lake, you still also had to deal with the fact that Kyle Hendricks, it was a sad fall, and he didn't give you a chance to win more often than not. He had a small stretch here or there where he gave you a decent outing, and he ended his Cubs career in the most perfect way at the very end. But we all know that he was not good last year. And so Matt Boyd needs to be healthy. And if he is better than Kyle Hendricks, then your rotation is looking a lot better than probably how I feel and how Cubs fans feel as of today. At the end of the season, if they make the playoffs and Matt Boyd does what I just said, we're probably feeling at least a little bit more optimistic, especially if they add a deadline.
It's Ryan Pressly for me. And I'll tell you why.
Right to the bullpen, huh?
Right to the bullpen. Why? Because my problem is that I'm banking on what he has been and not what he will likely be. And that's my own fault. But you look at it, and his career high is, I think, 33 saves in a year, and that was 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Regardless, the Cubs haven't had a 33 save closer since Kevin Gregg in 2013.
That's shocking.
You just had to say it like the one more after Wade Davis.
Yeah, but Ryan Pressly's career high
33 is
32.
not that crazy of a number.
No, it doesn't seem like it. When I was looking up the list and Carlos Marmol was like top 10 with 38, I was like, oh, this isn't a great list to look at.
Well, I'm saying it because it's like, okay, Wade Davis had 32.
Sure, he was close.
He was right there.
He had one blown save in the regular season that year, something like that.
He was insane.
33.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, if you can get Ryan Pressly to give you to just close games, just confidently close some games, and not have the heartache that you did last year between Hector Neris and Adbert not being strong in April and whatever else you had, to allow Porter Hodge to kind of develop into that setup role. I think you're cooking with gas at that point.
You had pitching problems last year.
You did.
Because of injuries. I don't think you can argue anybody else. Am I forgetting somebody? He's easily the biggest name added to the pitching staff.
Big time.
Right? So in that way, I hear what you're saying. Like, they had to make improvements, and they kind of did it depth-wise more than they did with the one superstar player, right? They haven't gone out and made a trade for Cease, or they haven't gone out and get the frontline starter. Biggest name they added to the pitching staff is Presley.
Yeah.
And Boyd.
But I would, both of them. But I would say if I had to pick one, I would say Presley, because it was such a
absolutely.
Yes, there was a need for a lower end starter, but there was really a need for somebody in the back end there. All right, Cubs X factor. I'm going with Matt Shaw for what Patrick was saying. Like, if you take him off or he's not successful, I don't know that there's a bigger X factor on the team. If Shaw can handle third base and can give you what Zips is saying, projecting 16 homers,
it's a win.
Huge win. You found your guy at third base, and that is a huge relief to the team in general. So I'm going to just keep it that simple. Matt Shaw, they're giving him a lot of faith when they didn't get Bregman. They handed the keys to him. They said they weren't, but that's what they're doing. And so they put a lot of faith in Matt Shaw. If he can get close to 16 homers and played solid defense at third, that'll be a big lift for this franchise.
Yeah. I'll go pitcher on this one. How about Porter Hodge?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned Ryan Presley, and I do think that his role is important, and they're going to need him to collect saves, right?
Yep.
I am also still on the hill, putting my flag at the top of the hill. I'm still on this. The Cubs' best case scenario when it comes to closer is if they develop that guy from within.
Sure.
And I'm not sure if Porter Hodge is going to eventually be that this year, but I would love to see him not only be as good as he was last year, but also, take a step forward. And Brian Presley's not going to save every game, they will overuse him, right? So they're going to need.
Presley gets 33 saves, and the Cubs only have 33 wins. I mean, we have a problem,
right? Well, that's
33
more on,
wins would be a problem.
That's a big problem with the offense because you're in so many one-run games, right? But they're going to need Porter Hodge to be that setup man and also step up and save some games for them at times as well. And just be someone that teams, like, the word gets out. Teams are starting to fear. Anytime all these other teams come into Wrigley or we're previewing another team going on the road and we're talking about, you're going to have to face Emmanuel Clase. It's like, okay, you got to get ahead before the ninth inning, right? I know this is particularly like the eighth inning, but the Cubs need to get it to where teams are fearing both him and Presley. And I think that's possible. And I just think that his season here, I don't want to be sitting here at the end of the year saying that Porter Hodge just completely flopped. So I think his importance to this team, in the bullpen especially, is very important because
X factor.
Yeah. If he is as good or better, man, that raises the floor of the bullpen a lot higher than I think a lot of fans feel right now.
I kind of like Michael Busch for this, just because we kind of saw it in Japan where he had some RBI opportunities. He's going to get those throughout the year. People are going to be getting on base for when he's up in the lineup.
Yeah.
And it's possible that he leads this team in RBI at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can develop his swing a little bit more, produce a little bit more pop, that's a heck of a thing at first base for this team.
Mm-hmm.
And his defense has gotten better. We saw a couple great picks at first in Japan. He's not necessarily MVP caliber for me right now on this team, not league-wide, but I think Michael Busch could really kind of make a difference on this team.
Yeah.
Good X Factor. Bobby Blanco in the live YouTube chat says, Steele, Cody, and Saya went down early. Dansby, Nico played injured for over half the season. We need health this year. We should be an 88 to 90 win team. So, yeah, if you just want to put health down as your X Factor, I think a lot of teams would say health is a major X Factor going into the season. All right, breakout prospect. Well, this whole team is built on the tricky task of developing prospects and competing to win the division, an absolute must this season. I don't know if it's the boldest thing I'm going to say today. In fact, it's not. I'll say Cade Horton. Top pitching prospect, got derailed by injuries, but I feel like now that he's healthy, we're going to finally see him this year at the major league level, hopefully. And when Cade Horton gets here, I envision it being in the bullpen. I envision it being maybe as a 1, 2, 3, bing, bang, boom, Hodge, Horton, Presley, and mix those three around kind of as a nice little mixture at the end of the rotation or end of the bullpen, because that's what you need, is more than just one guy. When you don't have that definitive, you don't have Mariano Rivera, you'd like to have 2, 3 guys in there that ride the hot guy at the right time. I think Cade Horton's going to start to get some innings, and then maybe you start to see more of him as a starter next year. But if he comes up as a reliever, I think he could be their breakout prospect. And there's plenty of options.
Yeah. I'll go with, it's so easy to just say Matt Shaw because he's going to have the biggest opportunity. Sure. But this is a bold show, so the bold podcast, so I'll go with Kevin Alcantara. Ooh. I feel like in some form or fashion, he will do something. He will do something. I'm not saying, like, obviously injuries would have to happen, but maybe something small happens and it leads to the call-up. He's on the 40-man, right? So
almost made the team for Japan.
Yeah.
Last guy left.
So all I'm saying is that I think there's a world where Kevin Alcantara helps this team win. I don't know if that I'm not even really talking individual stats. I'm just talking about a guy that can make an impact on the team that maybe fans are just kind of like not really sure what to expect, because largely he's going to be in AAA because he's kind of blocked right now, So yeah, I think that Kevin Alcantara could certainly make some form of impact as a prospect for the Cubs this year. I
like Gage Workman in this spot.
Gage Tater Workman.
GT Dub is what he's known as.
All right. The reason being, Rule 5, they're going to use him until they know that they can't, because if not, adios. For me, I like his defense. He's scrappy. He was scrappy in the spring. And as a bench guy, who doesn't love that? Mm-hmm. I think that he can give you more production, especially in the field, than what Patrick Wisdom did last year. Patrick Wisdom was good for warning track flyouts and 5 pounds added to Cody every time.
Yeah. Taco Bell
every. Yeah. For me, it's he'll get on base. He's going to give you some good defense, and as a 26th man, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. If you're right, wouldn't that be a story?
That would be
all these top 100 prospects they have, and we've been watching prospects through every level from the draft on up, and we at nauseum in the offseason we talk about prospects. If the breakout prospect becomes a Rule 5 draft guy from the Tigers, that would be something.
I like him.
Well, listen,
sorry that it's big and bold.
Tigers front office is led by a former Cubs front office executive as well, so they all kind of. It's not necessarily surprising me that they took a guy in the Rule 5 that came from the Tigers. So
I will just say Al Avila anymore.
I will just say that he's been a very intriguing player in the spring, and the one thing that I think you'll get from him is defense. I just don't know about the offense because his K rates in the minors are alarming. And so if you keep him, he's got to be on your major league roster. And so I don't know what to expect. Could he hit more than Patrick Wisdom? Sure. I mean, Patrick Wisdom is boom or bust. Will Gage Workman be a boom or bust type player? It feels like it, but I hope that there's a little bit more than just a boom or bust type situation with him. So I like the youth and the upside. The defense for sure will be definitely better than Patrick Wisdom. So I think that for sure will. If you're asking him to be better than Patrick Wisdom, I think that's possible, at least on the defensive side, and hopefully he runs into a few homers down the road. So
I just need a guy with the middle name Tater to be successful in my life. All right, let's go right to finish this sentence. If the Cubs do this, this will happen. And I say if the Cubs do this, add a number 1 starter before the season is over, they will win a playoff series. If they add a true number 1 at some point this season, Alcantara, Cease, whoever it might be, Cubs will not only make the playoffs, because to add one of those guys, they would have had to have been in it. And then if they add that guy, I think they will win a series. What was that?
Wrong time. Don't worry about it.
I think I know what that was.
Yeah.
So what you're
Did
saying?
you not hear it?
No.
Yeah. The dead giveaway was the noise it made.
Oh, okay.
We'll get there.
So if the Cubs add a number one starter,
If
they'll win a
if
playoff
the Cubs
series?
do this, add a number one starter, this will happen. They will win a playoff series.
Okay. I don't really have one.
If the Cubs stay healthy, for instance, we say if the Cubs stay healthy, they're an 88 to 90 win season. I think I don't know if that's super bold, but I think that's fair. You can pass. You can pass.
When? I think when is kind of the question. Like, when do they have to add their starter by? Their number one starter by?
This season, during the regular season.
Okay.
Could be at the trade deadline.
Yeah. And do you have an idea of who that might be?
Cease, Alcantara.
Anyone beyond that? Like, is there
I mean, that's a pretty good wish list.
Right? Yeah.
Pretty good wish
I'm
list.
cool with either of those, but
King
is possible too.
Yeah.
You
got one?
Yeah, I mean, I can go negative if you want.
Sure.
If Kyle Tucker,
He's gonna steal mine. I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
Cubs do this.
If
the Cubs don't sign Kyle Tucker, this will happen.
No, it's
Cody will revolt.
I'm not going to talk about this contract situation.
Okay, never mind. I didn't mean to put words in your mouth.
We have all the next 10 months to talk about it. I'm so exhausted from it.
If the Cubs win 90, Ricketts will raise the prices of taking. Yeah, that was for Godfather, who's not on the chat today.
If Kyle Tucker is a 5+ WAR player, the Cubs will win the division and win a playoff series.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
Mine is also revolved around Kyle Tucker, and that's why I'm bringing out the sad trombone from Carm. And it's that if the Cubs are 500 or below at the trade deadline,
oh no,
I think Kyle Tucker is on his way out. I don't know if it makes sense to hold on to him. If they haven't figured out if they can reasonably extend him.
If they're below 500 at the deadline, how good or how bad Kyle Tucker? How good or how bad Kyle Tucker's
yeah, but they'd still
are.
probably trade him, right?
Right.
If they're let's
still
say
trading close to $300
here's the
million
problem.
player
Here's
at
the
least.
problem with your theory.
Well,
if they're actually 500 and they're a couple games behind the Brewers and or Reds, Jed's going to have to really consider whether or not he's going to have a job in a contract year, whether or not he's going to have a job or whether or not he's going to let these guys go for it.
I asked my question because when you get to the trade deadline, it is always about what have you done for me lately. And as we've seen at recent trade deadlines, outside of Juan Soto, teams aren't getting these massive hauls they used to get at the trade deadline. I'm just being honest.
No, you're right. You're right. But look at the NHL, and this isn't a great comp, but Mikko Rantanen traded from the Colorado Avalanche to the Carolina Hurricanes 3 weeks until the trade deadline. Things aren't working out. Carolina knows that they can't extend Rantanen. He's only there for 3 weeks, and then they ship him to Dallas, and then he signs an 8-year contract extension. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with Kyle Tucker, but it has to be considered if you're not in a position where you think that you can compete and or extend him into the future.
It is unfortunately a scenario that we will unfortunately talk about unless this team wins baseball games.
At least once a week.
Sure, whatever. It's so exhausting, man. Adding Kyle Tucker has probably been the best
the worst
moment.
thing that could have possibly
adding
happened.
Kyle Tucker in the three almost 4 seasons that we've done the show has probably been the best thing that's happened to this organization. And we're sitting here talking about trade him at the deadline. We're sitting here talking about Sam Smith and
Sam Smith.
He's trying not to say his name.
You know who I'm talking about.
He doesn't want to cost himself $1, so he said Sam Smith, the Bulls writer.
Right. And all it's exhausting, bro. I don't know. Whatever.
Sean Caselli's bold. He says if Vidal Brujan's a 7+ WAR player, the Cubs are going to break the 116 win
He also
record.
said that Felix Pierre was their breakout player.
But I mean, to Sean's credit, He's right.
It's bold.
If Vidal Brujan is a 7-WAR player, they probably have like 116
as soon
wins.
as Sammy talked to him, he started hitting homers.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, talked.
If the Cubs made Sammy their full-time hitting coach, Vidal Brujan would be in that race for home run champ.
Hold on. So since Cody called him Sam Smith, we'll call him just Sam Smith now.
Yep.
De La Cruz says if Sam Smith makes the team, I will blow chunks. Why are people like, why is that the indicator that Dana Brown, who's stupid, is adding a rookie way too early to a roster? Like, that's just showing you bad general management.
Now wait a minute. On the flip side, here comes my next bold prediction.
Perfect.
Cam Smith, and Matt Shaw both win Rookie of the Year this year.
I love it.
How's that for bold? Can you imagine if they swept Rookie of the Year?
I genuinely don't know what Cody's reaction on the show would be.
Oh, you'd be thrilled that
if
Matt
Shaw wins Rookie of the Year, then I'm assuming that the Cubs had a good season. So,
and you would have your answer at third base.
Yeah, and God, who knows where we're at in 7 months? I don't know, man. And to Sean's point, yes, putting Sam Smith on the opening day roster he would be the 18th fastest position player to reach the majors. And you go look at that list, and like Bo Jackson is probably the best player on there.
Like Ozzie Smith's on that list. There's some pretty good pretty good players on the list.
Yeah, I'm talking about 18th fastest. Ozzie Smith wasn't in the first 18.
I think Dave Winfield's on the list.
Okay,
well, but that's the thing though. It's either like Dave Winfield and Bo Jackson, or like just some random dude.
Okay,
he was pretty elite.
He
could hit for a while. Xavier Nady could hit,
but was he an all-star, superstar caliber player that everyone thinks that Sam Smith is going to be right now? Like,
I love it. We're just calling him Sam Smith.
If we have to do this all season, then I will call him that. That's just what it's going to be.
James is complaining about 84 wins. That's a step up.
Sam Smith
he's predicting improvement too.
What else could you ask for?
Sam Smith is either going to be Dave Winfield, Brian Milner, Ryan Zimmerman, Bo Jackson, Danny Goodwin, John Olerud, Connor Gillespie, or J.D. Drew. It's really just a mixed bag. They're either good or bad.
Nearly 2016 Cubs killer in that first round playoffs series.
Apparently, I talked to a guy who covers the Giants yesterday when I sent that tweet with that list, and he said that Connor Gillespie was part of his contract, that he was going to get called up as early as he did.
Really?
Yeah, it was like part of his contract. Yeah.
Neat.
Put it in print. Yeah. Listen, tomorrow we don't have a live show for you because we're working on something big. Wednesday we are back at 1:30 with another live show in which we will do our season predictions, which will include all of Major League Baseball. That'll be fun. We always have a good time with that. Don't forget that you want to watch tonight Bulls pre- and post-game.
Mm-hmm. Playing the Nuggets
on the road. Gottlieb, Peck, Big Dave.
3 games at 7:30.
Aaron Gordon over 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Those guys don't know what to do with themselves right now. After that Lakers game, they were just...
Kevin Huerter over 2.5 threes.
Also, you've never seen a death march into the playoffs quite like CHGO Bulls. Just terrified of having to...
Yeah.
Terrified
Nobody
of
wants to miss the playoffs like they do.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back at 1:30 on Wednesday. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button on the way out. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Until next time, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.